Alex, and welcome back to another Spin a Wheel reading vlog. You'll already know from the title and the thumbnail that this is a Spin a Wheel vlog. Hi, if you're new here, these are a TBR kind of game thing that I do. This is actually the penultimate, the second to last one of its kind, because next year I am completely changing up the way I'm using this wheel. Very excited for it, but this one, this second to last one that we have, is going to be Native American, Mesoamerican, and South American authors. It was South American Heritage Month back in September, and I was going to do a Spin a Wheel vlog, and it just got away from me. And then November is Indigenous Heritage Month. So I figured I would combine the two, the one that I missed and this one, because I don't have enough authors from both, sadly, at the moment. We have a Spin a Wheel based on all of the books that I own by Native American, Mesoamerican, and South American authors. So very excited for this. So let's get a little bit closer to the wheel and you can see how it's set up. Not hugely new to anyone who's watched this before, but let's go see. So here we have the 3 pots that we usually have, and we have the different prompts on the wheel. So we have my bibliotherapy, which is books that are out of my comfort zone, which are on the wheel the books, the phone, and the calendar. We have Reading Juice, which is my comfort zone books, which are the coffees and the marshmallow. And then we have this one in the middle here, which is a stack of books, and that's for my series. Now the series only have 2 in the pot as opposed to 5 like all of the others do, and it's only once on the wheel because I'm not going to be able to read more than 2 series. I'm probably not even going to be able to read 2 whole series in one vlog, so hence why it's only on there once. So what we're going to do is we're going to spin based on what it falls on. We're going to read one of the books from these pots. And I've taken all of them out and shuffled them and then put them in, so I have no idea what order they are in and which ones will or won't come up, but I'm very excited to give this a try. So let's give her a spin and see what we're starting the vlog with. All right, comfort zone. So that's in the Reading Juice pot, and we have Tethered Spirits by T.A. Hernandez. All right, this one is a self-pub one. I'm very excited to get this. This has been on my TBR for a very long time. So let's go talk about this one. Okay, so Tethered Spirits is the first book in The Curse of Shivala by T.A. Hernandez. I don't know if Shivala is like a take on Shivalva, because I know that's with an X, but not SH like this one. But that's Mayan, so maybe not. I don't know the culture behind this one. It might be Mayan as well, but the synopsis for this one says, sorry, I'm gonna have to read it. It's been so long since I picked up this book, I do not know what it's about anymore, but I know I'm excited to read it, so let's see what it's about. A spellbinding tale full of magic, adventure, and heartfelt emotion. Amar is searching for his lost memories, hoping they will reveal more about the curse that plagues him. With the support from loyal friends, he may be on the verge of finding answers. To succeed, he'll need to enlist the help of an unexpected guide. Kisari is a Taja, granted magical abilities through her bond with the spirit named Lucian. Haunted by past mistakes that have her desperate to give up her magic, Kisari has her own reasons for agreeing to help Amar. But in doing so, she may finally have to face her unresolved fears. Meanwhile, a young refugee named Aleda is in pursuit, convinced the secret behind Amar's curse can save her brother from a fatal illness. With nothing left to lose, Aleda will do anything it takes to achieve her goal. When their paths collide, all 3 are set on a journey to unravel a mystery far deeper than they ever suspected. It says, if you enjoyed the whimsy of Howl's Moving Castle and the character relationships in Six of Crows, you'll love this book. And it was a finalist in SBFBO 8, which was a fantastic year. It's no SBFBO 7, but it was a very good year. So to have become a finalist in that year is quite impressive as well. So yeah, I'm very excited to give this one a go. A lot of people talk about the found family elements in this one as well from the reviews, which is a trope that I like. So I'm excited to get into this. So I have nothing really further to say at the minute. I am slowly but surely chipping away at a different book. I'm reading my book club pick in the background of this vlog. So if it does seem like I'm reading potentially slower than you would expect, it is because I am reading other books as well. But do not let that deter you from enjoying this vlog, and hopefully I'll still get like a good maybe 3 or 4 spins out of this wheel. We shall see. Vlog. It is still Monday. 2 updates. one day. Who even is she? I have actually gotten to the end of part 1 of Tethered Spirits. So I thought I'd check in because the likelihood is that tonight after dinner, I'm probably going to go and read my book club book. So instead, I thought I'd update this now before it leaves my brain. I'm liking this. This is YA. I knew it was YA and then I forgot that it was YA. That's not necessarily deterring my enjoyment. I am still liking it. I think for me, with this one, most of the elements of it I'm really liking. I really like the setting. The setting is lovely and very immersive. I'm really liking the writing style. It's actually very dialogue heavy, so it's like really quick and easy to get through. And also I am enjoying the characters. For the most part, I don't really read a lot of YA anymore, and one of the reasons that I don't read YA, I had a conversation about this, I think, in my Draconathon vlog, which I'll leave linked. But for me with YA, I like trashy YA. I know that sounds weird, but the romantasy, OTT, melodramatic kind of YA, I still read because they are brilliant brain candy. But for more serious YA, one of the problems I end up having is I just sit there wishing it was adult, which obviously is not the book's fault, but I sit there and I think, oh, in an adult fiction, they would have done this and they would have gone harder on this and the focus would have been on this. And that's what I want from the book. And that's why I stopped reading YA, because it just wasn't hitting hard enough anymore. And this one isn't quite doing that. It's not to the level like I had with Dragon Fruit, where I wanted more depth from it. This one has a decent amount of depth, still not the levels that I want. So I'm enjoying it enough that I'm definitely going to continue the book and think I will still enjoy the book, but it's not hitting as hard as I would like. Like, I am happy that I've got to the end of part 1. I'm now reading part 2. I'm happy to put it down for the night and continue reading my other book. It's not like, oh, must keep reading this one. Like with the other one, I'm forcing myself to read slowly. Like I am forcing a slower pace so that I can discuss it more with the book club, and I make myself stop small chunks at a time. With this one, I got to a good place to stop and I was like, this is a good place to stop. Let's stop. Let's continue tomorrow. So it's not addictive enough that I'm like, this is the only thing I want to be reading, but also I'm enjoying it enough that I'm happy to continue, is where I'm at with this one. So at the moment, it's not like a glowing review, but I am having a good time. It's really well written. I really like the world building. The characters are interesting enough. So for 30, am I quite 30? 20 something, 29% of the way in, I'd say that's pretty good going. I'm nearly a third of the way through. The book's, I think, in 3 parts, so I'll probably take maybe 3 days to read it. Maybe I'll read a part a day. That sounds doable. Today was a bit chaotic because I had to go down to my mother-in-law's house, which is where we get our packages sent to, because we can't get them sent to here in the middle of nowhere. So I went down because the guys had left a package, hadn't called to let me know that they'd left a package or asked me where to leave it. A lot of the time I tell them, oh, they can just throw it over the door and we'll go get it. But normally they phone me and they tell me, so then I go get it. Today was absolutely chucking it down with rain and they just threw it over. They didn't call me, they didn't let me know, nothing. So I don't even know how long those packages had been there, but by the time we got there, the boxes were disintegrating. So I have spent the best part of 2 hours blow drying one of my books. I got a refund and they were like, you can dispose of the book or keep the book or whatever you want to do. And I've spent about 2 hours blow drying a book, and I have the Cricut iron. So I blow dried all the pages and then I ironed all the pages, and it still looks a bit fucked, but it's not as bad. But yeah, so that's a thing. And it's been one of those days. We got chucked down a rain on. It's just one of those days. So I didn't really get as much time as I would like for reading and things, because we had to leave the house early to go get these packages and stuff. So it is what it is. But other than that, decent enough reading day. Bit chaotic, but decent enough. So I will pause that there, and then tomorrow hopefully continue and read part 2 and give you an update on that. Hey vlog, I am back. It is actually Wednesday. I didn't update you yesterday. I was going to, but I just didn't have anything to say about the book. Also, I was really anxious because Gigi hasn't been back in 2 days, and I think he's probably gone and found himself a new home. He's not a cat that we acquired for ourselves. He just showed up at our house looking very hungry, and we started feeding him and letting him in and stuff. It's not like we've lost our cat. It's just that a cat that we were feeding clearly no longer needs our services, but he was so cute and I feel so bad. So I was a bit anxious yesterday because I'm a dog person, and obviously the same can't happen with a dog. a dog doesn't just disappear. If it does, you need to call someone. I guess I'm just, yeah, I wasn't reading as much yesterday, so I literally just read part 2 yesterday and part 3 today. So I thought I could update you. I didn't have a huge amount to say that I have said yesterday. I liked this book. I didn't dislike it. I had a good time with it. I really do appreciate the characters in here. There's a villain character in here that I really did like, even though she's a villain. And I love when authors can do that, because I mean, she's not really a villain. She's definitely an antagonist, but I understand her. And I don't know what that says about me, but I liked her for all the wrong reasons, really. She was an interesting character. The world building was very cool. I did enjoy the plot. I don't think I'm going to continue on with the series. I don't think it feels like something I want to spend more money on. If I'd have bought like a bundle set with this, maybe I would have, but I bought this when it was new out. It's not something that I feel like so strongly about that I'm desperate to go buy the other books, you know? But it's not one I would deter you from reading. It was a good time if you're looking for a self-pub book and you want something that's not quite so heavy as a lot of them. A lot of the indie world seems to have come through the levels of just like what mass publishing doesn't want to publish kind of thing. And this one definitely is in that case. It's more just like it's outside of a comfortable box to slot it in more than anything. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I don't have very strong thoughts on it though. I think it's probably going to come out at about like a 3.5. I haven't run it through Corpal yet, but a 3.5 seems about right. Good qualities all round, but nothing that particularly feels like it's going to stay with me or like I'm desperate to continue. So good book, but that's about it. I never really know how to talk about books that are in the 3-star range. The 2.5 to 3.5 star range is such a horrible range to talk about because I'm not elated enough like the 4s and the 5s where I am really excited to talk about these books because I had such a good time. And at the same time, they're not in the 1-star, 2-star range where I have problems and I feel the need to either justify my rating like I did with The Burnings, where it's like it's not a bad book, but this is why it's still got a low rating, or like with Den of Vipers, just tell you all of the things that I hated about it. It's an odd one because with this, I don't feel like I need to justify my rating because it's a decent enough rating, but I don't feel like I need to tell you anything more about it because none of it felt strong enough to me to talk about. So that's kind of where I'm at. So that means I finished a book. So we're going to go spin again. So I'm going to take you with me. Here we are again. Let's see what we spin. Ooh, out of comfort zone. All right, that's in here. What does that mean? Is that the right way? No. Okay. Anna Maria and the Fox by Liana de la Rosa. All right, let's go talk about this one. So not technically out of my comfort zone, but it's not in the fantasy sci-fi sphere, which is kind of what I use the out of the comfort zone part for. And to be fair, I was kind of coming out of my romance era, but with me feeling a bit anxious about GG, it's probably for the best that I've got something to lean on while I'm reading another epic fantasy. So this one is a Victorian romance, but it's set in Mexico, which is very exciting. I love Hanoverian romances for the most part, so having a Victorian one but that isn't set in England is very, very exciting. I hope more of these continue to crop up. But yes, let's talk about the synopsis of this one. And it says, a forbidden love between a Mexican heiress and a shrewd British politician makes for a tantalizing Victorian season. Ana Maria Luna Valdez has strived to be the perfect daughter, the perfect niece, and the perfect representative of the powerful Luna family. So when Anna Maria is secretly sent to London with her sisters to seek refuge during the French occupation of Mexico, she experiences her first taste of freedom far from the judgmental eyes of her domineering father. If only she could ignore the piercing looks she receives across ballroom floors from the austere Mr. Fox. Gideon Fox elevated himself from the London gutters by chasing his burning desire for more. More opportunities, more choices. For everyone. Now, as a member of Parliament, Gideon is on the cusp of securing the votes he needs to put forth a measure to abolish the Atlantic slave trade once and for all, a cause that is close to his heart as the grandson of a formerly enslaved woman. The charmingly vexing Anna Maria is a distraction he must ignore, but when Anna Maria finds herself in the crosshairs of a nefarious noblewoman with his own political agenda, Gideon knows he must offer his hand as protection. But will this Mexican heiress win his heart as well? The cover of it is fabulous. We've got people of color in a Victorian setting. But yeah, I'm excited for this one. Also because it's talking about the Slave Abolition Act. The Slave Abolition Act was pre-Victorian though. Interesting. I need to kind of figure out when this is set. But I'm very excited to give this a go. I'm very excited to see how I fare with this one. I think it's good for my brain right now. So I'm going to go do that. I can't remember when was the last time I updated you. I genuinely have no idea when I last updated you. It's Saturday, so I thought I would check in. I am halfway through Anna Maria and the Fox. Because his name's Gideon Fox? Yeah, Anna Maria and the Fox. I'm liking it. Historical inaccuracies out the wazoo, which I have said before I don't really care about in romances. There is a little bit of a political aspect that's a bit too central for my liking to be kind of, it's not quite historically inaccurate, but a little bit. Now, that's besides the point of, you know, the fact that we've got like a Mexican heiress who is considered desirable in the British populace at the time. We have a mixed race man running for parliament, all of those things. I don't really care about any of that. My issue is actually with the Slave Abolition Act that our protagonist kind of keeps talking about, the way he's kind of, the political sphere that he's in. Slavery at this point was already undergoing abolitionism in the UK. Now, in the US, it still wasn't, but in the UK, it had. And in the British Empire, by this point, it was illegal to trade in slaves by 1807 in the UK. And then it became illegal to own a slave or trade a slave across the entire British Empire by 1833. And then by that point, we also had landowners that had slaves were compensated for the liberation of those slaves. The last places in the empire to free up their slaves, I believe, was Nigeria and the West Indies, which is not surprising. By this point, we were starting to roll out compensation. You could only claim that compensation if you were liberating your slaves. We were well underway. Like by this point, which is in the Victorian era, so definitely after 1837, I can't remember the exact date that we're given, but I think this is in the 1860s. Most of the British Empire, by this point, it was illegal to own a slave. If you owned a slave, you were doing so illegally. I am not saying the British Empire did a good thing about this. They compensated landowners for the loss of their slaves, did not compensate the slaves for their loss of income, for just the lives that had been robbed of them until that point. None of that was a thing. But I'm not quite sure. So this guy is trying to create like the end of slavery globally. Now, by this point, globalization was not what we know of it today. So it feels a little bit anachronistic the way we're going about wanting a freedom for all mentality across continents, because the British Empire giving up slavery was incredibly significant, especially an empire that big. So it was an interesting time politically, to be sure. He mentions Lincoln, so he's clearly interested in abolitionism in the Americas and wanting British intervention. Now, at this point, we have not yet reached what is called the rapprochement, which happened in Edwardian times, I believe. So that's in the 1900s, if not late Victorian. I'm fairly certain Edward had a huge part in it, so it's either under Victoria's rule but through Edward, or during Edward's reign, that we see rapprochement with America, where we actually start to have relations with America. The belief that England at this point could influence America is a bit absurd. At this point, we are relatively fresh still off of independence. It's not even been a full century of America being independent. England does not have that kind of sway. I understand that it's supposed to be topical, but like, interesting choice of time period. Like, we could have just been in 1833 and dealing with the actual abolitionist movement. We could be going even further back. We could be in the Regency era, right? We could be following Wilberforce. That would be completely feasible, be equally topical. But we wanted to include American politics, we wanted to include Mexican politics, and therefore we decided that we could just ignore or overstate British politics when it comes to the level of interest that Britain had in America's politics. I don't know where this author is from. I'm going to hazard this author is not British, because the fact it's set in Britain, but the British sociopolitics of the time seem to be the least relevant, is a choice. Historical critique aside, which again, I do not deduct points for on historical romances, because the point is the romance, right? I don't really mind. It's just something that I've noticed and something that I have to force myself to ignore, because the politics are more central in this one than they usually are. But that being said, I'm really enjoying the relationship between the characters, between our two main characters. I find that entertaining. The sisterly relationship is also very interestingly developed, and then the lady who is like taking charge of them, also very interesting. So there's a lot going on that I'm really enjoying, and I think that for me, realistically, it just being set in this time period but having a different flavor to it having a Mexican protagonist, it having a mixed heritage male main character, all of these things, I think that's what it's got going for it. It's new and refreshing, and I like that. You know, I don't care if it's anachronistic or historically inaccurate. I really don't in that regard. So while the politics are annoying me just a teensy bit, mostly actually less because of the Mexican part of it or even the slavery part of it. It's more just the fact that we've mentioned American politics multiple times, even though we're in England. It's like we've got to center America even when we're in Britain. Seems a bit not for me. Not gonna lie. But other than that, I'm having a great time. So, you know, you win some, you lose some, really, in this case. And having some more diverse representation during this time period makes it more than worth my while to put up with a little bit of American centricism. So yeah, I shall continue reading, and then hopefully I shall be done with this either tonight or tomorrow morning, and I will be able to check back in and we can spin again. That's the hope. Hey vlog, I swear it looks like I just stay here and just change my clothes because I'm always in this position at the minute when I'm vlogging. I have finished Anna Maria and the Fox and I liked it. I think I would have liked certain elements of it to have gone harder, gone on longer, maybe come in sooner into the story as well. We have a marriage of convenience element going on. I think it tried to pull The Duke and I. I've not read the book version, I've only watched the show, but I'm fairly certain that that's another one where the marriage of convenience element doesn't happen until later compared to, for example, the Duchess deal where it happens at the very start. So I think it was trying to do that. That doesn't come in until, I want to say maybe like 70% of the book, which is just odd. And I don't know, I would have liked, I guess, a different distribution of the book and for it to have kind of picked a lane a little bit. Really well written. I did enjoy it. I mean, I think I would have liked to have been a bit more obsessed with the characters. It's well written, like the prose is good, it's easy to read, which is what you want from a romance. The premise is decent, and again, the cultural side of it's interesting. There are just niggly bits with it as well. I think it's going to come out like a 3-star. Like, I didn't dislike it, there were little bits of it that I'm like, oh, but I wanted something else. But again, that's a me thing. It's not really the books thing. I can totally understand how this could be someone's like new favorite Regency romance. There are just little bits that I'm like, oh, I want to tweak you. 3 stars for that one, I think. However, that does mean that I finished a book, which does mean that now we need to go and spin the wheel again. So come on. All right, we're back here. Let's spin again. Okay, we've got bibliotherapy again. What do we have this time? Upside down. We have Trust by Hernan Diaz. Okay, let's go talk about this one. So we have Trust by Hernan Diaz. This one's like a literary, historical, I think it's like the same guy, but different choices, different lives, maybe. A little bit like Mr. Nobody, something along those lines. Let's have a look at the synopsis. An unparalleled novel about money, power, intimacy, and perception. Even through the raw and effervescence of 1920s, everyone in New York has heard of Benjamin and Helen Rask. He is a legendary Wall Street tycoon. She is the daughter of eccentric aristocrats. Together they have risen to the very top of the world of seemingly boundless wealth, all as a decade of excess and speculation draws to an end. But at what cost have they acquired their immense fortune? This is the mystery at the center of Bonds, a successful 1937 novel that all of New York seems to have read. Yet there are other versions of this tale of privilege and deceit. Hernan Diaz's Trust elegantly puts these compelling narratives into conversation with one another, and in tension with the perspective of the one woman bent on disentangling fact from fiction. The result is a novel that spans over a century and becomes more exhilarating with each new revelation, at once with immersive story and a brilliantly literary puzzle. Trust engages the reader in a quest honest with the truth while confronting the deceptions that often live at the heart of personal relationships, the reality warping force of capital, and the ease with which power can manipulate facts. Excited for this one. I first heard of this from Angela at the Literature Science Alliance. I think she read it for a book club, and it was like apparently quite a good one to kind of discuss. So I don't know. I'll see. I have no real expectations going in. I don't really know what to expect from this book, other than that I think it's going to be quite thematically, I was going to say thematically rich, which is kind of hilarious given that this one's about capitalism. Thematically heavy, and I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully it will be good to kind of get the brain working again. But we'll see. We'll see how I fare. So once I've read some of this, I'll come back in and check in and see how I'm feeling about it. Because at the minute, I don't really have anything to go off other than interesting. Hey vlog, so I thought I'd check in because I have read the first section of Trust. So this book is split into 4 parts, and it's basically different angles of the life of this man. So the first one is a novel that was written about this like financier and his wife. Then the second one is a autobiography that never made it to the light of day, written by the financier that the novel was based on. The third book is an attempt at writing a biography, and the fourth and final one is diary entries by the wife of this financier. I've read the first one so far, which is the novel, and it's written like a novel. Weirdly, it's not a novel I would pick up, which sounds ridiculous, but it's not a novel that I would pick up if it weren't formatted this way, if it weren't part of this other book that is supposed to give you different angles of the same story. And it did a really good job of doing that thing that novels do, of talking only about the highlights, of embellishing someone's life, of making someone seem more interesting, more important, more relevant than they maybe were in their actual poem. So I am very curious to see how the next part is going to go. I think that the different parts are all going to be so contingent on each other as well, and also how well or not the different styles and voices the author is capable of pulling off. So I'm very curious to see how I'm going to feel about the next part. We shall see. So far, I am interested, to say the least. So hopefully that keeps up. I don't have a huge amount more to say on it though, because at the minute it's just I am interested to see how the subject of this novel counters what has been presented in the novel, and how all of these are going to link and overlap, and what things I'm going to end up believing from each thing, because I think that's the point, right? It's like a discussion on how media is presented, because like the novel is not presented as nonfiction, it's not presenting itself as being the truth. So then we'll have the autobiography that is presenting itself as the truth, but of course it will be a curated truth based on that person's experiences and also what they are willing to put out to the public. Then the next one will be a biography, which I think happens posthumously, so I think it's after this man is dead. So I'm curious to see if that means that then we will get how this woman investigates and what she is able to glean from this. So she starts, I think she's going to be looking at his manuscript, which is the bit that we will have read before, and then also investigative journalism style stuff. And then the last one, I think, is a diary that she uncovers of the guy's wife. So overall, very curious to see how they're all going to interlink, and yeah, like I said, what I'm going to end up believing from this story. So not much more to say at the moment. Onwards and upwards. Hey vlog, still the same day, but I have read another part, so I thought I would check in. I have read the part where it is now we're following this man's autobiography. So the first one, as I said, is like a novel that is clearly based on this man's life. So he read the novel, and like everyone else also knew that the novel was clearly based on him, and he was not happy with the contents of the novel. So he has now begun to write his autobiography. He gives up and it's unfinished. I think this did a really good job of actually transitioning styles. So you can see how in the first one it reads like a novel, how in this second one it reads like an autobiography. The thing is, as well, as obviously because this is like an unedited autobiography as well, so you can also see where the different biases come in. So someone as a third party, but also someone who's trying to sell a novel, someone who's trying to make it sound a lot more exciting than it probably would be. So you can see which things have been embellished. And then in this one, you can see where he is, be it consciously or not, showing himself in the best light possible. You can see where it's a specific thing that is mentioned for the sake of justifying or reframing something that was mentioned in the novel. Other times where it's clear that he's trying to completely refute what is in the novel. And it was just interesting because like which things then we are led to believe. Now, obviously at this point, we don't have as much to go off of because one is a novel. So it's not deliberately trying to be a complete accurate depiction of a person. It is a novel. And then this one is supposedly someone's autobiography, but with the bias of someone trying to clear their name from the novel. So interesting, a very interesting story. I really like how, so there's a lot of emphasis on this man's wife, and that's going to become apparent later, I believe. There is a lot of emphasis on this man's wife. So in the first one, it is, you know, that she is his wife and that then he locks her away and then dismisses her. The other is that she is, you know, a woman who is a fragile wife who he loved and wanted to take care of. And, you know, the different angles that the wife is coming into the story is also very interesting to me. And I'm excited to see what happens in the latter half, because I believe the latter two are women. So the first two are men. The novelist is a man and the autobiographer is of course a man. And then we have the biographer who is a journalist who is a woman. And then I believe the very last one is the journal of this man's wife. So I'm very, very curious to see how all of this unfolds and see where it all goes. I'm excited to give it a read. So I'm enjoying it. I'm having a really good time with it. I think that, as I said, that the transition between styles was done really, really well, where it still feels like you're reading the book. It doesn't feel like you're completely taken out of it, but you can tell where that one is a novel and one is an autobiography. So I think that was done well. So onwards and upwards, we shall continue, and hopefully I can get some more of it read tomorrow and I can update you and we can have some thoughts on it and on the next part, which, as I said, I'm very excited for. Maybe we'll even be able to squeeze another spin in here. Who knows? Hey vlog, I am here. It is Wednesday, so I thought I would check in. I have now read another part of Trust, and this part was the biography section. I liked this one. I think that it did a really good job of reframing also how biographies versus autobiographies go, the kind of bias that goes into a biography versus the bias that goes into an autobiography, but then also the different approaches. One is through investigative journalism, which means that you'll get things like other people's opinions and insights, and you'll be looking into more things, while with an autobiography, it'll be mostly just you talking about your own lived experiences. And that came through quite well in here. I am looking forward to seeing how the last part plays out. I'm curious to see how I'm going to fare with that, but interested in this story. It's not really one that I'm like loving, this is amazing. It's really well crafted and really well written and very intricately told. I think that that's kind of the key part to this, is you're getting the same story through so many different lenses, and then you get to glean whatever information you want from that. I did get a package today. I've just done an unboxing. My friend Mare, who I will leave linked, she's linked in every video I do, I think, went to FantasyCon in October and bought me a book and got it signed, and it's one of my all-time favorite books ever, and that's A Woman of the Sword. Anna Smith Spark is the author of two of my favorite books that have ever been written, and also one of my favorite series. I'm in awe that Mare thought of me and bought me this and got it signed for me. But apparently she talked me up to Anna Smith Spark, and I got free goodies apparently. So I got given some art prints. We've got, I'm assuming that's Marith. We've got what I'm assuming is Talia. This is from A Woman of the Sword. So this is our protagonist and her two sons. We've got what I'm again assuming is Marith from Empire of Dust. Talia and Marith again, I assume. And it's just making me want to reread Empire of Dust. And rereading has not been going well for me at the minute, but I might need to reread Empire of Dust. I'm not gonna lie. And then I also got a tote bag with A Woman of the Sword. I'm so obscenely happy right now, and I thought I would share because that's amazing. Some advance has been made on Trust. Some crying has happened because my friends are amazing. Mary's just got to be one of the most gorgeous people, and I needed to gush about her. And have I already done a dedicated video and also sent her a message saying thank you? Yes. Am I still going to mention her here as well? Yes, because she deserves all the shout outs. So I'm up in my feels right now, so I'm just going to go stare at prints for about 3 hours. But yeah, I'll check back in once I'm done with Trust. vlog. I'm here to check in because I have finished Trust. So I thought I would check in here so that we're right by the spinner wheel so that we can go spin in a minute. I ended up really liking this. I've given it 4 stars. I really appreciated the writing style. I really appreciated the way that the different parts fed into each other. What's interesting about this is that I don't think any single one of the parts is something that I would have read. So if someone published a financier's diary or financier's autobiography or a biography about a financier, and even really the novel, like the novel in the first part is probably the one that had the least interest for me. The only novel that I've read that's about a financier that I liked is the Amortal's Rules for Civility. Other than that, I just don't really care about that world of finance. So none of the books individually are ones that I would have read. So it's interesting that I enjoyed the combination of them because of the conversation that was being had around having all of these different iterations of the same story. I did really enjoy the last one, I think, the most. I think that it had the most to say, and that's why it's the last one. It brings together all of the things that we have seen throughout the book. So yeah, I am glad that I read it. While it is a book where it's only the sum of its parts that is something that I like, I think that that is the point at the end of the day. Odd experience, but a good one. I enjoyed it. Would recommend. Now, let's go spin the wheel and see what I end up getting and what I'm going to read for the weekend. All right, let's give it a spin. Oh, God. Oh, I got series. I've got to read a whole series in a weekend. Oh, my God. Okay. At least it's Thursday. Which one did we get? Islands of Blood and Storm. Oh, it's okay. This is a duology. Let's go talk about it. So the Islands of Blood and Storm is a anti-colonial story that is set in the Caribbean. We have the colonial invasion and the treatment of the existing royal family that was there at the time. We are following the heiress to this colony after her parents were murdered by the colonizers and her people have obviously since been enslaved, and we're following her supposedly as she tries to take it down from the inside, which I think is going to be very interesting. I know that this one, in terms of the protagonist being, obviously she needs to get on the inside first, so she needs to kind of betray her people, and that sounds very exciting to me. So I'm very curious to see how I'll fall on this one. This will also be my first case in calendar, and they are an author that I have wanted to try before. So again, very excited for that. We'll see how I fare with this one, but I'm very excited. This should be one that I love because I do love dark character as the protagonist, and I really like the idea of this setting and the setup for it, and yeah, hopefully I will love this. So I've got 2 books to read this weekend. This vlog might end up going on longer than I'd anticipated, but supposedly I've got, today's Thursday, we're going to be reading a book every 2 days. Let's see if I can do it. Hey vlog. So it's actually only been about 3 hours since I last checked in. I'm DNFing this book. I was so excited for this book. Like I said, I thought that it sounded like a me book. I don't like this book. The thing is that there's nothing about this book that I'm liking. I'm not vibing with the writing style. I do not like our protagonist. I'm not in like a you're an asshole, but I'll follow you anyway kind of thing. Just someone I actively disliked and did not want to be around. The setting, the vibe of the setting was good. I don't think it was enough to redeem this for me. This might be a me thing. I might just be slumping or something, but I am not having a good time with this book. I'm DNFing this book. I'm DNFing the series. I am shocked. I am shooketh, but it is what it is. I can't continue. I'm having such a horrible time. I don't want to read. I've read just shy of 100 pages and I don't want to read because this is the book I'm reading. So I'm just going to stop. And we're going to go spin again and we're going to hope for something else. Maybe another series will come up. Not that I need a whole series, but I'm so sad because I thought I would love... I don't DNF this quickly. It's been a couple of hours since I picked this book up. I was thinking, oh, I'll just give it a bit more of a chance. No, I am having a horrible time. I am stopping. So let's go spin again. We're spinning twice in one day, it would seem. Let's hope I have better luck this time. Okay, comfort zone. At least it's rewarding me for DNFing, I suppose. Comfort zone, we've got A Lasso A by Darcy Little Badger. This is going to be, I think, a nice time. All right, let's go talk about this one. So we've got A Lasso A. This is the first book in a series. When I picked this up, it was a standalone at the time, and now it's gotten continuations. I don't read YA. This is YA. I really don't read much YA anymore, and I've said this before, the YA that I do read is trash just because it's to give my brain a break. So we'll see how I fare with this one. This is Indigenous. I think it's Apache, and this one is following a girl who can speak to like dead animals and stuff. She can like raise the spirits and talk to them, and her cousin is dead and has been murdered, and she wants to go investigate it, and she's investigating it in a town that is very secretive and that will probably protect their own. So I'm very curious to see how I'll fare with this one. I like the premise of it at least, and I think I'll enjoy my time with it regardless. It's just whether or not this kind of overcomes my, not aversion, my problem with YA tends to be that it doesn't go hard enough or deep enough compared to what I want. Now this is a very difficult topic, so I can't imagine it's going to go as hard as I would like, but it's how in depth we bother to go or not will determine how much I like this book or not, and then whether or not I would continue with the series, for example. Hey vlog, if you can hear my husband's music, he lives here. I am halfway through Last Away, so I thought I would check in. I am liking this. I'm really liking this. It's not reflective of my tastes, and it's not a book that I think I would pick up now. I picked this up back when I was still reading YA, never got around to it, phased out of YA slowly. There are some lingerers. This is one of them. Tethered Spirits is another. It's not one I would pick up now. It's not one, if you have the same taste as me, and it's not one that I think will convert you towards YA, but it is a good book. And it's an interesting story. It's well written. It's a fantastic way of highlighting the themes of this story, and I do really appreciate the book. So it's an odd one to talk about because I don't really know how to go about it, because I'm liking this book so far. I've liked what I've read of it, but it's not a book for me. And it's an odd one to reconcile because it's like I appreciate what it's bringing to the table. It's just not a table I would sit at. So it's, you know, the book isn't doing anything wrong, and I think it's a really important book. And this is something that I had with Dragon Fruit as well. It's like when you get books that have diverse representation, especially for teens, it's a fantastic thing. It's an important thing, and the conversations that this book is having are incredibly important as well. And I don't want to minimize that just by me being like, but it's not my taste in books anymore. But also at the same time, it's not my taste in books anymore, and it's a very hard one to reconcile. So I always feel the need to kind of put that disclaimer out there of, I think this book is really important. I think people should read it. I think that especially its target audience, I think teens should be reading books like this. I want more. I want it to be nitty gritty. I want it to go even deeper and even darker and even richer into those themes. It would be unreasonable to put what I want from it into a YA book. I don't really know how to reconcile that when it comes to a rating when I finish it. I can't imagine that my tastes are going to change drastically over the latter half of the book. So it's looking at a 3-star, which is just ridiculous for a book of this caliber. But at the end of the day, I do need my ratings to reflect my tastes, because that's how being a reviewer works, is that people are looking at my taste because their tastes align with mine to see if that means they will like this book. So it's an odd one, and I don't really know how to go about it. But I'm hoping to finish this one today. It's a relatively short book and it's very easy and quick to get through because it's YA. So I'm hoping to get through this one today throughout the morning, and then I'll be able to check back in and be done with this vlog. I think I'm going to stop it here. I know I've got the weekend still, but I don't think I'm going to be able to squeeze a whole other book in, especially because I've got books going on in the background. So I think once we finish Away, I'll check in and we'll conclude the vlog here. But I think I've had a good run. I mean, we've pulled 5 books. I've only read 4 of them, but we've pulled 5 books. So I think that's a pretty decent run with the reading. So I just don't want to run the risk of like getting a series and then suddenly I have, you know, to read a trilogy in 2 days, which is just not feasible, and it's not fair on the books and not giving it its due diligence. So I think I'm just going to stop the vlog here before I get roped into something that I'll try and squeeze in and it's not good. So I'll try and just finish this one up instead. Checking in for the night to finish up this vlog because I have finished Away. I don't think I have particularly much stronger thoughts, to be honest. I know it sounds kind of disappointing and that it's a bit anticlimactic for the vlog, but I don't have any stronger thoughts on it, to be honest. I enjoyed it. It's 3 stars. Everything that I've already said about it in regards to I'm not the target age range and that can appreciate it but still know that it's not really for me, those are still my thoughts. You know, I know it sounds repetitive, but the ending of the book didn't change those views for me. That I think it's an important book, that I think that it's a book that people should be reading and that I'm glad exists, but also that I am not its intended audience, and therefore there are things in it that just weren't for my enjoyment, and I read for enjoyment and it matters, you know? Again, not even that it was unenjoyable, just that it's not written for me in mind. But that does mean that I have read 4 things and DNF 1 thing for this vlog. So I started out with Tethered Spirits by Tia Hernandez, which is a YA book that I think was fine. I probably won't be continuing on with the series, but I'm glad that I read it. It's a self-pub as well, so it's always good to be reading some of those. After that, I read Anna Maria and the Fox, which I should have loved more. It was fine. It was 3 stars. I should have loved it more, but I did have a little bit of a annoyance with the way that we involved very American-centered politics in Britain in a way that I just didn't think felt organic enough for my liking. Didn't really take into consideration British politics. Like, out of the 3 categories of politics that were in the book, the one that was least relevant was British, but we were in Britain, which just felt a little bit silly, and I don't really see the point in it, to be honest. So, but that's a personal preference thing, and that's fine. I also would have liked maybe for the 3rd act to have been a bit longer, and I think that certain elements came into the story too late and then felt rushed, and I would have liked those to have been spread out a bit better. So I would have liked a little bit better pacing. I will probably continue on with the series just because it is fun, and with romances, like, it doesn't take an awful lot to convince me to want to continue on with the series because it's just fun and it's a bit brainless, and I like that. So that's not one that on the basis that this one wasn't exactly what I wanted, doesn't mean that would be a problem that I would have with later books. So at the moment, at least, I will still continue with the series. Then I read Trust by Hernan Diaz. I think with this one, it's one that I appreciate and admire more than like. There were definitely things in there that I think were incredibly well written, but for the most part, this is one that I was looking at through the lens of this is telling me something, this is exploring something, and it is looking into us as a society, how we engage with reading about a person, about a real person, in this case a fictional person that is real within their world. And I thought that was handled really well, and I am certainly glad to have read it, and I would consider reading something else by this author if it was of interest to me, but it would be contingent on the synopsis. It wouldn't be, oh, I like this author, I'll read anything by him. I then DNF'd The Islands of Blood and Storm with the first book, Queen of the Conquered. I couldn't get past the first 100 pages. I really struggled with it, and maybe I was a bit too harsh. I was not feeling great, but I just knew it wasn't for me, so it made sense to stop. But then, ending on the lighter note, I did read Alat's Away and I did enjoy it. I don't think I'm particularly inclined to reading the prequel, but I'm glad that I read it, and it's definitely one that I would recommend for its target audience. So this has been a very vlog. Again, I didn't dislike my experience with the vlog. Nothing really grabbed me, and I don't know if it's me, I don't know if I'm slumping or something. My reading the background was really doing it for me, so I don't know if all the other books were suffering by comparison, or I don't really know. I don't know what was going on. It's one of those things, I guess. There were a couple in there that didn't come up that I would have liked to have come up, that maybe would have let me know if the problem was me or the books. It seems a bit much for the books to have always been the problem with 5 books, but I don't know. But yeah, odd vlog, odd experience with reading, but hopefully you have enjoyed nonetheless, and that you'll, let me know your thoughts on any of these books and if you've read them. Also, based on my interest in these books, the things that I've liked about these books, if you have books that you think would captivate me more, and also just any books that you know by Indigenous authors or Latine authors that you think would be of interest to me, I am all ears, because I'm always looking to diversify my reading. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below. But that is all from me for today, so thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you in another one soon. Bye!